Hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Let's face it. Again, this is a community where parents and families of children with autism and ADHD can come and get information and feel supported, learn together and share dreams or visions together, or learn about the challenges that other parents do encounter daily, and learn about tips and ways as to how you can introduce some of those recommendations or some of those suggestions in your life. This week, we're going to be focusing on what's next. When I say what's next, I mean, okay, so when you do go to the doctor and you get that dreaded paper, you get that dreaded diagnosis, you get that paper that usually it's a developmental nutritionist who will evaluate your child, somewhat assess your child capabilities as to how they're functioning neurologically, how they react to sensitivity, their intellectual understanding. So it's a more intense report. So that will be the diagnosis. It's referred to as a diagnosis. So here in America, it's usually a developmental pediatrician who gives the diagnosis. It's usually a neurological doctor that gives the diagnosis, right? But anyhow, with all that being said, after you get that dreaded paper, I remember how heart-wrenching and how heartbreaking that was for my ex-husband and I to finally receive a diagnosis to say, hey, there's something different about your child. And then upon asking the question about the diagnosis and how it works, and they're telling you that, okay, most of the time they tell you that, hey, it's a lifelong journey. There are cases, they have had very few cases, or they have seen whereby some families and some kids have outgrown it. So it looks different for everyone. But to be leaving a doctor's office, getting a diagnosis, and you're not getting any straight or definite answers that you like, it's a bit of a hard pill to swallow. In fact, it can become a bit frustrating. However, upon leaving that doctor's office or that doctor's space, when you and your spouse, or it would be you or a trusted family member, receive that diagnosis, the question is, what do you do next? What happens next will be certainly different for everyone. I I hate to relive what I did next. I wouldn't use myself as a perfect example or a perfect guide. However, in a perfect world, and of course, we don't live in a perfect world, but the most right thing to do upon receiving the diagnosis is to grieve. Mhm. It's to grieve. It's to basically be in tune with your emotion. You know, you can share this with, because everyone family setup looks different. At the time when I received the diagnosis for my daughter, I was married. So at the time it was me and my ex-husband. Uh our doctor is like an hour and a half away, because at the time I still live upstate New York, and my child developmental pediatrician is somewhere in the Bronx, because they really don't have that service significantly available in my area. But long story short, it was a long drive home, and we for half of the ride, both of us was very broken. Both of us was very sad. Both of us didn't know how to process it. But as I had stated in previous videos, my ex-husband, he was a trooper. He handled it well, and he tried to encourage me and support me as best as he could while he was going through it too. But again, I wasn't accepting it. processing or taking the next step after receiving the diagnosis is different for everyone. I grieve for an unhealthy, when I said unhealthy, I mean a very unhealthy amount of time. I I this is, and like I said prior, this is my regret. I feel as though if I had paid attention to it more, or if I was more aggressive, I would have gotten more, or my daughter would have improved, and at this point would have been fully recovered or lose her diagnosis. But as it is right now, my daughter has improved significantly. She's reading, she's functioning. I no longer have teachers or principals calling me about her behavior. She's now well behaved. She now understand a sense of safety. I can now take her out to the stores. Like, she's pretty much doing her thing. Like, I'm grateful for that. So with the improvements that I've seen in my daughter, irrespective of my poor or delayed response time, as in, you know, taking things seriously, looking into this, taking the steps like 1 2 3, like just get to it, get to it. I feel as though I would have had a better response at this time. Bottom line, I feel as though she would have lost her diagnosis at the time. She would have been fully recovered. So at this point, my daughter, her journey is ongoing, it's continuous, but I'm grateful for the fact that she's like functional, she's doing whatever it is that she's supposed to, and she doesn't look like or feels like or expresses herself the way she does before. And it's the reason why I've decided to start this platform, because I've seen this and I've experienced it hands on. So saying this to say, go through your grieving stage. I would say, again, grieving looks different for everyone. An healthy amount of grieving time, probably, I would recommend, based on experience, would have been approximately 2 to 3 months at maximum. And I'm being generous. 2 to 3 months at maximum. Some people, depending on how your understanding of autism and the way how you approach it, you may take a different approach. You may be a baddie, you may be a diva, you may be a champion, you may be a warrior, and you decide and you tell yourself that, okay, I'm just gonna cry for a month, or I'm gonna cry for a week, I'm gonna cry for 2 weeks, but after this 2 weeks or after this 3 weeks, I'm gonna get to work and I'm gonna advocate and I'm gonna fight for my child, and I'm gonna take all the steps that I need to take to advocate and do what's best for my child. That's a guilt I carry. Like, this is a medium for me to be transparent, and this is a medium for me to be honest. And I pray that whoever may encounter this video, irrespective of the journey where you're at, whether you're at the beginning phase of this journey of being an autism mom, or you're at an advanced state, it is my hope that me sharing my story and the mistakes that I've made and the things that I didn't, or the things that I should have, you could possibly learn from it and not make the same mistakes. But I'm forgiving myself. No, I'm in a better space. But I'll say, move as fast as you can. Take the child to the necessary doctors, the necessary evaluations. Now, this is what the evaluations look like. After you receive a diagnosis, it is mandatory for you to receive a diagnosis paper from your child developmental nutrition, developmental doctor, or neurological doctor, whomever is deemed qualified to give the diagnosis. That letter that you receive from that individual, you will take it to the state. I live in New York, and in other states, it may be different. So I'm saying this to say, the sooner you act, the sooner your child will receive the appropriate services. So once you receive that letter, the plan of action is to go to the state. They have this program in New York State called early intervention. So what early intervention does, they will ask for a copy of that diagnosis. When they receive the copy of that diagnosis, they will go ahead and they will assign you a caseworker. When they assign you a caseworker, that caseworker will schedule a time for you to either meet them at a particular location or they can meet you inside your home. Most of the evaluations that I did for my child, I did it inside my home because Lord knows I didn't want to be traveling. I was a hot mess. I wasn't put together. I wasn't any of that. And I didn't want to be going on the road, especially in times because at the time my ex-husband, he was working and his schedule was very filled. And I didn't trust myself to drive because at that time I considered myself mentally incapacitated. Like I just wasn't there. Mentally, I didn't. Emotionally, I didn't. So I didn't drive. So I opted to have all my evaluations be done at home, right? If that's an option. So that's what I did. I have most of my evaluations be done at home if they can be done at home. If it's a case whereby the evaluators are unable to do home visit, my ex-husband and I would take our child to the respective location to get the evaluations done. There are 3 major evaluations, approximately 3 to 4 evaluations that's been done. They do an evaluation for speech. They do an evaluation for occupational therapists. That covers like their gross motor skill. Can they write? Can they how they respond to sound. There are so many things that the OT, which is occupational therapy, involves. They also do like a special education evaluation. So that is whereby they try to determine the child intellect. Does the child know their colors? Does the child know how to respond to their name? Does the child acknowledge mommy and daddy? Does the child communicate well? So there's a lot of things that is being looked at. Their social skills, because like I had stated in previous videos, when a child reaches a particular age, there are certain milestones that that child should achieve, or there are certain behaviors that that child should be displaying. So if the child is not meeting those guidelines or milestones set or put in place by the state, then they will offer the services accordingly. My child, she had all services. It was determined because, as I stated previously, my child diagnosis was severe autism spectrum disorder. Severe. So, as broken and as torn as I am and as like hopeless that I was years back, I can tell you that the initial diagnosis is not the final say, and everything can turn around. Because when I heard, or when I say the word severe just now, I was triggered and I was reminded of how hopeless and broken I felt, because I'm like, what am I gonna do with this child? She's damn near vegetated. What am I gonna do with her? And I am the type of person, I had so much dreams, I had so much aspiration. Like, I'm a talkative, speaky spokey like bookworm, all of that. I just wanted my child to have all of that. I wanted my child to be all that and more. So like I was like a part of me, it was like, oh my gosh, there goes that. I was like, okay, so I get my girl. Initially I wanted a boy and I fell in the love. I wanted a boy for both my pregnancy, and the Lord say no, it give me girls. So, after a while you fall in love with the idea of being a girl mom. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna dress my daughter up. I'm gonna have her be so dolled up. Gonna do mommy and me styles. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna talk. I'm gonna take her on vacation, blah blah blah. So it's like, all those little girly things kind of like died, because I'm like, how am I gonna do this? She doesn't even understand. She doesn't even respond to her name. Like, really? So yeah, a part of me died. But long story short, my girl is good now. We be going on the street, we be shopping together, we be doing so much things together, and my girl is reading. My girl she love books, and we go to Starbucks and we sit and she reads, and we just, oh my God, let me just calm down. But saying this to say, my child has catapulted, or success has catapulted from severe, like severe. And it's like the doctors, they usually told me that nothing can be done about it. And I'm telling you, that's a lie. That's a lie from the pit of hell, because my child has transformed. And I'm saying this to say, I wish the best for your child as well. But let me stay focused. Let me do this step by step. So, my daughter, she had a severe autism spectrum disorder. And the diagnosis for everyone may look different. Some people may have, like, she's on the spectrum, mild. So they will use term as like mild autism, medium, or whatever the term is, like girl or ladies or friends or pals. I just remember severe. But all I can say is that it's different for everyone, and it looks different for everyone. Right? So when I got that paper, we got connected with therapists, and I must say, like, it is very, very important for you to set schedules. So when after you go through everything, they use the evaluations. They will take a couple time to get back to you. So you will use schedules. And my daughter, so back to the services that she got at the time, because her situation was so horrible. She was so delayed. I wasn't getting anything from her for a very, 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 very long time. But she got special education like 3 times a week. She got speech therapy 3 times a week. And she also got occupational therapist 3 times a week. And God bless us, all of those therapies was scheduled inside the home. So the program that's in New York, early intervention, I think that program goes up until they're like about 2 years old, approximately 2 to 3 years old, that program, early intervention. And again, when they get to the age of like 3 or 4, like the school district will take it over and start putting them like into special needs program. So that's what it looks like what happens next when you get the diagnosis. One of the things that I must recommend, because this was one of the issue for my family personally, and I'm sure you guys may drop your comments of what your experience were, or what it was like. Please make it your #1 priority to collaborate with your spouse, to collaborate with your husband, to collaborate with your partner, whether you're in a Life is different. Family looks different for everyone in America and around the world in which we live today. So speak to your partner, your wife, husband, whatever it is your family dynamics look like. Speak to your husband or your partner. They are actually in this with you. One of the things that happened to me, honestly speaking, in retrospect, and if I could do it over again, I could do it over. At this point, my ex-husband and I, uh, we are very committed to our child. Yes, we are very committed to our child. We work together as a team. Uh, I'm an entrepreneur. I travel a lot for business. Whenever I travel, he backs me up. So we do work together as a team. But initially, it wasn't like that. Initially, I'm the villain. I'll take full responsibility or accountability for it. I I I was just upset with my husband. I was just mad at him. Like, I can't even begin to phantom why am I mad at this man? Like, what did he do to me? Like, hey, he's going through the same thing that you're going through, or he was going through the same thing that I was going through. But for some odd reason, I started to see him as my enemy because he shared a different opinion. Hey, he shared a different opinion, or he shared a different views. How dare you share a different opinion from me? Like, it's our child. We should be thinking the same way, or we should be feeling the same way. I implore you, please do not make that same mistake that I make. Everyone is different and everyone process grief differently. And you know what? I was reminded of my behavior recently. I was tuning into a reality show, and there was this couple, a married couple, on the reality show that I was tuning into. And it brought me back to how I was. Like, the husband, well, he had the same persona as my ex-husband. He was very calm. He was very, he was very peaceful. He was very calm. He was very regulated. It hurt him, right? Obviously, the dad that I was watching in the reality series, he was hurting by it too, but he dealt with it calmly. He was more composed. And the wife reminded me of myself. She was more erratic. She was crazy. She was crying. She was overwhelmed. She was very emotional, and it reminded me so much of myself. And I was like, oh my God, I'm looking at myself here. And what I saw on screen with that couple is that it started to change the dynamics of their relationship. They started, as much as the guy was trying to be understanding and be like a punching bag for his wife, it started to become a bit overwhelming. So it started to put a strain on your relationship. And that's clearly what happened in my relationship. As to why me and my ex-husband is not together anymore, it doesn't have to do anything with my daughter diagnosis or whatever. That's not solely the case. So I'm just saying that to say, but be careful not to have the diagnosis put a strain on your relationship. Be careful not to have the diagnosis put a strain on your relationship. Not because someone do not process or someone do not deal with grief the way you, everyone grieves differently. Everyone deals with situation differently. So I'll recommend that both you guys do therapy, because my ex-husband and I didn't do therapy. He recommended it, but hey, like I said before, like I will say from time to time, in these videos, I'm very stubborn. I'm like very hard at it. And if I could ever do it again, or if I could ever relive it, I would have listened to my ex-husband and I would have gotten therapy. So I would say I'll recommend therapy even though I didn't get it. And life was a bit harder for me initially going through the phase. But if I should do it again, I'll do it. So I recommend getting therapy as a couple just so you guys can deal with it, because I, even in watching the television show, I feel as though if that couple do a therapy session or two, they will get to basically express their emotions like in healthy ways and identify ways of like understanding more, because it's a different world for both parties at that time. And also, like, if you have children involved, speak to the children about it. Watch videos with the child depending on what age the child is or their understanding of the matter. You can like YouTube videos, you can watch it with your child or your other children. You could explain it to them. So because you know, sometimes when kids are young and they don't really understand, they say, oh, mommy is not talking to me, or mommy, she's not talking to me, what's wrong with her, what did I do, you know? So you know, you can speak to your child and like, just so it works for everyone. Not saying that the children should get therapy as well, but it would be good for the parents, or the parents, husband and wife, whatever you be. It will be great if you guys work together as a united front, because if you're working together as a team from the get-go, life and circumstances can definitely change in a great amount of time. Now, having a child with diagnosed with autism, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of patience and it takes a lot of prayer. But there is so much to be achieved. There is so much to be overcome, only if we strive to do it correctly. Even if we strive to do it correctly, we need support at this point, or at this stage in receiving a diagnosis. We need support, and we need the support of our partner. So we take care of the inside first. We ensure that everyone in the home, which is like grandma, grandpa, whatever it is, aunt, uncles, depending on the type of family that you have. For me, it was grandma, and I think it was like a great aunt that's like in the home at the time, and it was my hubby, my ex-husband, and I. So that's what my family looked like, right? I know for different families it may be, sometimes unfortunately, whenever you get a child that gets a diagnosis, you have some level of abandonment. The dad may decide to check out, or the mom may decide to check out. So sometimes you have cases whereby you have like single mom or single dad doing this autism journey. It's somewhat heart-wrenching, but life is life. And if you, it's more than possible to make it through. So it doesn't matter what your family looks like. The aim is to ensure that everyone understands this child and how this child operates, right? So I'll implore you to still love upon your husband, still love upon your partner, and explain to your child or extended family member what's happening with your child and how you guys could cope as a unit in handling that. So goodbye for now. This is our topic for this week. But the major carry away for this week is to ensure that upon getting the diagnosis, you act. Act swiftly after grieving. So in other words, you process the diagnosis, you grieve for whatever period of time that works for you. Then after you grieve, you jump into action. Remember, this is not about you. This is about your child. Remember, this is not about you. This is about your child. And the minute you buckle your belt or girdle your waist and get to work on behalf of your child, get to work on behalf of your child, that is, the better off it will be for your child. So you're gonna grieve, then you're gonna jump start into taking actions. You're gonna contact early intervention, the state. You're gonna schedule services for your child, and you're gonna ensure that you work well with your partner, your husband, and you're gonna ensure that you explain everything to everyone inside the household who will be affected or who will have to interact with your child who has been diagnosed with autism. I pray that this information would be helpful and it will add some great value to your life. Bye, and see you guys next week.